Welcome to part 3 of the Battle of Tobruk on Let's Play Battlefield 1942. I've spawned in at the German main base once again. This is about the time in the round when people stop spawning in at the main base. They get a little bit too lazy and they don't continue to bring up the tanks, so there were a bunch of German tanks left there at the main base. If the Germans don't manage to get a flag at all at the beginning of the round, there's just no tanks to be found. People always grab those things up as soon as they can. It's kind of like plane campers. But here we've done a good enough job where people are spawning in at the flags as opposed to the main base. So the German tanks are getting a little bit neglected. The Germans only have the British primary base at the moment. So it's kind of a weird situation to be in. Unless you destroy the British tanks that spawn in at that base, the Germans are completely out of luck when it comes to getting any tanks. So that's another reason why I had to bring up a tank. And of course, if the British don't have their main base, there's a lot of pressure on them to retake it, and they kind of start to ignore the front flags. So as I'm doing now, I'm really taking advantage of that. Not too many British defenders here. You can recapture them real quick if you're lucky. And if the Germans still manage to hold on to the British main base, then the British will be stuck at the middle two flags, and they really don't want to be in that position. I got killed by a landmine there. Apparently what happens is when an engineer sneaks up on your tank, they can set a landmine on your vehicle itself. They don't have to put it on the ground and have you drive over it. They can just stick the landmine anywhere on your tank, and if you move the tank at all, and in some cases that includes just firing your turret, firing the cannon, which makes your tank shake around a little bit, that's enough movement to activate the landmine, and it's an instant kill for a tank. So if you're a sneaky engineer, you can get up close to an enemy tank that's in a stationary position and guarantee that it's going to be dead. You can also booby trap empty tanks that way. I don't normally stick around and sit on these mounted machine guns here, but I may as well take a ride. At least I know that wherever he drops me off, there's going to be a friendly tank nearby. Generally speaking, if you've got the second row and you want to attack the front row, it's easiest to attack the southernmost flag. They tend to leave that kind of abandoned. It's a shorter distance too, I believe. Or at least it's got more cover along the way over there. If our infantry, who are no doubt going to be spawning at the middle flag in the front row, making continued attacks against that southern flag in the front row, if we manage to get that, we could be in pretty good shape here. Or the British will be stuck in their main base. Once again, these large capture radiuses really hurt the defenders a lot because they can't continue to spawn in. I don't know why those guys spawned in as snipers, but yeah, that's one disadvantage you have when you don't spawn in as a medic or an assault. You run into enemy infantry, you're pretty much dead. And somehow we managed to capture that flag. I guess we had an additional guy in there after I got killed. the continued neutralization of these British flags is really going to start to wear on them severely. They can't continue to harvest the tanks that spawn in at those flags if they keep going neutral, because when a flag goes neutral, it kind of resets the timer for respawning a tank at a flag, and it also disorganizes the enemy, because instead of one guy who knows, okay, I was driving one of those tanks that spawns in at a flag, my tank got destroyed, I'm just going to spawn in there and wait for it to respawn, kind of like a plane camper would do. He can't do that if the flag turns neutral, so they may just not have anyone left there to take the tank when it spawns in. Even just keeping a flag neutral like this when you know you can't take it since there's a tank there, it's really useful just to make the enemy devote their attention to that neutral flag, as opposed to the flags where the rest of your team are attacking and maybe have a chance at actually capturing the flag. Once again, you can see the accuracy of the medic's machine gun on this game. Just now when I was shooting at that anti-tank guy at a great distance, that's really rifle distance. And yet, just kind of shooting in short little bursts there, I was able to get in a lot of hits, if not actually get a kill there. I got a lucky moving shot on that tank right toward the side. You can fire your tank shells into these bunkers through the side if you position the tank's cannon just right. Even at a short distance, the arc that the tank shoots the cannon at comes into play, so you aim a little bit above the slit in the wall. You can see the usefulness of flanking attacks here. I got a couple of shots off, though they didn't hit. I had free reign to keep launching tank cannon shots at that enemy tank there because he was so preoccupied dealing with the attacks coming in from the front row. And once again he is. So I can try again. And a British guy managed to sneak in there. But there you go. And there's another tank. They really don't notice you whatsoever until it's too late. And there was one more British guy hiding in the radius there. If the flag's taking too long to turn over, just kind of scoot around a little bit, use the splash damage that your tank's cannon has. Just firing against a wall nearby an enemy is usually enough to do it. I'm going to see if I can move in and spawn camp that flag. There's really no way for me to capture it at this point just by myself with a tank. Stay tuned for the next episode.